Welcome to Life on Purpose, where we talk all things health, wellness, and living your life on your terms. I'm your host, Brandy Eilert. All right, welcome back to the Life on Purpose podcast, where today my guest is functional gynecologist and author of Dirty Girl, Ditch the Toxins, Look Great, and Feel Freaking Amazing, Dr. Wendie Trubow. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
It's great to have you. Like I said, we were talking a little bit off air. You know, I've spoken a lot about functional medicine on this show, but not specifically in the area of gynecology and kind of women's health. And really your book and everything that you write about toxicity kind of ties into that whole area. So I'm really looking forward to really exploring that. But first, I would really like to start with you. You know, how did you get here? How is this an area that you decided to focus on? What's your story?
It's so great, Brandy. I always think, okay, we only have like a half hour and it could take a half hour to tell everything. So I'll stay somewhat high level and say my story spans many years, because when you look back, I was born vaginally. So I wasn't a C-section baby. I was born vaginally. My mom breastfed me. So I got a great optimal start. And not everyone can get that, but I got a great optimal start. However, both my parents have autoimmune diseases, and my parents grew up at times when there were a ton of unregulated toxins. And when you nurse, those toxins go through the breast milk. It's like your no-fee way of detoxing, but it's not so good for the babies. So I started out with that. And one of the autoimmune diseases that I have is, well, actually I only have one, but it's celiac and it's genetic. So I am a child of the 70s, and we ate lots of processed food, sloppy joes, a lot of bread, casseroles. And then in the 80s, when the microwaves came, we had microwaved foods with plastic. So you're starting to sense like, oh, there's all these layers of toxins that I was getting and exposed to. And then I decided to go to med school in my early 20s. I didn't know I was going to go in college. It was really the end of college that I was like, I should be a doctor. And one of the reasons was I was in sales, and everyone in my sales job kept asking me medical questions. And I was not selling anything medical. I was selling audio visual presentations. And so I was like, oh, the universe kind of sees me some way. I should listen to that.
That's really interesting. That's
really
I don't
cool.
think I don't think I've ever really talked to somebody who kind of redirected based on kind of this, how someone else or a group of people saw them. There's something that they didn't see about themselves. That's really fascinating.
Yeah, I had contemplated it and never really saw myself as being, I would say, smart enough. I just didn't see myself as that type of brainy person. So I was like, well, I can't go to med school. So I didn't. I do have a lot of doctors in my family, and they're all wicked smart. And I didn't think of myself like that. So when this started to happen, I was like, maybe I should reevaluate. So I went to med school, but before that I had to go to pre-med school to do all the requirements I didn't do in college. And that was like the first stress point where things started to ramp up around inputs, and I started to not compensate as well. So my gut went out of whack. My brain didn't function as well, but it was all somewhat subtle and I didn't really notice it as much. And then I went to med school and got a lot worse. And then I went, and I'm someone who likes to do the hardest things. So I didn't just go to med school. I went and got my MBA at the same time. It was a combined degree. It was amazing, but it was harder. We didn't have summers off. And then instead of doing, I love family care. I love birth to death, really women's care, but I should have probably been a family doctor or a pediatrician, but I was like, no, I like to do surgery. I like to run around. I like to deliver babies. I'll do OBGYN. But constitutionally, that was a lot. And I started to even slide back more. So about halfway through residency, I remember sitting at the desk at the nurse's station. We were looking at a fetal heart tracing, and I was like, whoa, my pulse is 120, just sort of sitting and talking. And I was already dating the guy who would become my husband. And he was like, just go to acupuncture. I'm like, okay. So I went to acupuncture and it would help, but then I would backslide. And by the way, I was also really constipated by that point. And then fast forward to a few years, we're married. We have our first child. I had difficulty getting pregnant. And then I was exhausted. Fast forward to our second child. And afterwards I was like, I'm a mess. I'm really a mess.
Yeah.
And I was getting out of bed because I had to, I had two little babies and I'm working full time and we were early in our careers. And so I was pretty just determined.
Right.
So I saw my husband's mentor for a consult. He was doing functional medicine and I really didn't know about functional medicine at the time. This is about 16 years ago.
Yeah.
And he said to me, "You're not going to like the diagnosis." And I was like, what? Like, for me, the worst was, do I have diabetes? Am I going to have to stick my fingers? My fingers are sensitive. No way. And he said, "No, you don't have diabetes. You have celiac." And I said, "Oh, my dad has celiac," but I was never tested. I was sort of a medical personnel who fell through the medical cracks.
Yeah.
And so that was the point at which I started to look at, how do I take control of my health? How do I take control of my body? What's possible? The problem with chronic illness is it develops so subtly that you can get really sick before you recognize something's wrong, because it's not like flipping a switch. It's just a little bit of deterioration every month or every year. So
right. And you become so used to just that lower level, and then that lower, like you just kind of maintain, and then it's just a little bit, I'm good. Yeah.
I'm just getting older.
Right. Just right. And that's a really, really easy excuse for a lot of people, is age, to just, shrug it off. I'm just, I'm close to 40, I'm 40, I'm 45.
Yep. So let's say up front, I will say we reject that notion that you're supposed to get worse as you age. You're supposed to get better every decade. Right. So that flipped the switch when I was 35. Yeah. And then I've spent the next 16 years. So I'm 51 and I've spent the next 16 years really diving into, how do I get healthier? And the first, I would say 12 to 13 years was all about gut health, because the gut runs the body. And we'll talk about more about how it impacts women's health, but it really does run the body. So I focused on, I went gluten-free immediately, but then getting rid of the food sensitivities and the yeast imbalances and the bacterial imbalances. So really, really optimizing the gut.
Yeah.
And then about 2.5 years ago, I turned my attention to the toxins and had all of them. So again, sort of bad overachiever area. I had heavy metals. So lead and mercury, mycotoxins, 4 different strains of the toxins from mold, bunch of environmental toxins, and some pesticides. I was like, oh man. So I looked at my husband, who's my business partner, and we worked together, and I said, "I am such a dirty girl." And that was how the book was born, because I said, "Oh, we have to write that book, because I am such a poster child for healthy living. And here's what I've got. What does everyone else have?"
That's fascinating. So this is a thought that came up as I was listening to you talk. How did it feel while you are in residency in charge of people's health to not be in optimal health yourself? What was that like for you to not really get what was happening?
Brand, you so highlight something that I've struggled with. And I'm sure that this was here before med school and residency, but I would say it brought out the worst. I'll put it that way. So in residency, what we're taught is basically, if you're not dying or bleeding to death, go to work.
Yeah.
Don't complain, because if you don't go to work, they're already understaffed. You're going to screw your team.
Right.
And so I was sort of reinforced to just suck it up and go to work and push through. And that's parallel to being female, where what we're taught is go take care of people, be a caretaker, be good to people. And so those two things layered on took a really long time to untangle, I would say. And it's only in about the past 5 years that I've been able to recognize that if I'm not well cared for, it's a tremendous integrity issue. And I cannot go and care for others if I'm poorly cared for. But at the time, I just felt like crap. Yeah. And I didn't feel a lot of freedom I didn't even complain. I was diagnosed with celiac more than 10 years after my father. And how it goes is you should be tested. If you have a relative with celiac, you should be tested immediately. Yeah. The minute that relative gets diagnosed, all the first degree relatives should be tested. But I wasn't even tested for over 10 years. And so I think I had no freedom to really get present to how I felt. Mm-hmm. And I had zero freedom to take care of it. Not that it was externally driven, but I didn't feel the freedom and I didn't demand that oh, I need to take care of myself.
Which is really counterintuitive to being in healthcare in general, right? I
Mhm.
mean, shouldn't we be our best model for health?
Yeah.
You know, and
Now,
I'll listen,
yes.
and this is a very probably, it will probably make people angry for me to say this, but I have a very hard time seeing practitioners who are themselves not healthy, that look sloppy or look unhealthy. It very much makes me uncomfortable.
Right. It's the whole do as I say, not as I do.
Right.
So I would say for the past, it's funny, we did a meditation course right before opening our current company.
Mhm.
And I signed up with a coach so he could coach me through the meditation. And he said to me, I can't coach you because not because you're uncoachable, but because you're too tired to do
Aw.
meditation. So my coaching to you is go take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And I actually am like sort of getting moved as I think of him, because he said, you need to take a nap every day
Yeah.
and you need to go take care of yourself and then come back. We'll be here.
Yeah.
And that was like, I hate that I needed permission from someone. It just burns my butt that I had to
Yeah.
wait for someone's permission, but I needed that permission to recognize, oh, I need to take care of myself. And
That's fascinating. And I don't think that it's strictly a female issue. However, there are so many. I mean, I relate to that so much, to what you just said there. Is just needing that permission to do what I need to do to be, healthy and happy, and
yeah.
it almost takes a complete crash before you are willing to accept the fact that, okay, I really need to buckle down here, which is just crazy. It's just crazy to me.
Yeah. And the way I saw it, and so I have 4 children and my oldest is now 17. And so what I started, and when they were little, my God, I never took care of myself, or I did, but it was sort of a guilty pleasure.
Mhm.
And the thing that I've really come to believe is that our ability as mothers, and I'm going to speak to women because that's my group and that's
Yeah.
who I care for, but this applies to men too, but it's men seem to do a better job.
Yeah.
But that we have trouble setting that boundary. And what I will say is, instead of being the mom who always takes care of someone else first,
Mhm.
because here's the problem, what you're teaching and role modeling your kids is to not take care of yourself. And so a lot of women I know won't do it for themselves. But if I talk about, this, would you want this for your kids to
Right.
be a hot mess and totally tapped out and not cared for? They'd be like, no.
Yeah.
So it starts of, you need to be the role model who shows how to do it. So it's not for you, it's for the legacy of your children.
So
And
by
that,
focusing that attention outward, which is what we normally do anyway, that's when it clicks.
yes.
Oh yeah, I will totally do this for my children.
Yeah.
But to say, you need to do this for you.
Nope.
Okay,
Nobody
yeah,
will.
I can put that off for a while, I'm
Nobody
good.
will.
I'm good.
No. And then as a provider, circling back to what you said, the
Mhm.
level to which my integrity isn't intact is the deficiency at which I can't take care of people effectively and have them have a breakthrough in their health because I haven't done it, right? I have to be the leader and the role model for my patients.
Sure.
So we're all in this together.
Yeah. Oh, fascinating. Fascinating. So you decided then to go into functional medicine and to really focus on women's health, kind of based on your crash down and, opening your eyes to this bigger picture to health,
Yeah.
right? That you weren't finding elsewhere. So what did that recovery look like for you? And how did you then get to the area of toxins, which you write about in your book?
Yeah. So functional medicine is amazing. It's and if any listeners are saying, well, what's functional medicine? It's essentially flipping the concept on its head that your symptoms need a medicine.
Yeah.
And instead saying your symptoms have a root cause. Let's find that,
Yeah.
figure it out, and fix it, as opposed to just give you a medicine.
Masking it. Sure.
Correct. And now I will say, obstetrical care, surgical care, emergency care, you need a traditional plan.
100%.
You're not going to, if you're hemorrhaging, you're not going to take an all natural approach. You want to fix the hemorrhaging.
Throw some salve on it.
Exactly. No. So traditional medicine's phenomenal for those things. it's just not necessarily focused on keeping you healthy and fixing the root cause. So that's where functional medicine comes in. So yeah, I mean, there were a lot of steps that went into this. First, what happened was I went into the practice that we started in 2008. I went into that practice and left obstetrics because it's really hard to serve two masters, and there's only so much you can do. And there's a lot of people who have great hands and are phenomenal obstetricians. So I left that part of it to them and started to really focus on bringing functional medicine to women's health. And so it's been an evolution. That was 2008. So it's 13 years.
Yeah.
And functional medicine is all about gut health, adrenal health, and then and systems health. So when I say gut health, I'm saying pretty much anything from your mouth to your anus is part of your GI tract.
Right.
And if there's abnormalities in it, it's going to throw off your periods, your hormones, your sex drive, all of that.
Yeah.
So going upstream and fixing that. And then the adrenals are tremendous because they're part of the endocrine system. But if they're out of whack, your periods will be out of whack, your sex drive will be out. Same story, right?
Yeah.
So putting those together. And then, so functional medicine does a lot of work on figuring out where are the abnormalities, are there food sensitivities, are you nutrient deficient? You know, a lot of people, especially with the big vegan movement, a lot of people are B12 deficient, and that will impact your energy and your methylation and your detox.
Yeah.
So it all starts to domino. So for toxins, you know, I was aware of them peripherally for years, and it just felt sort of big. Like, no, I just can't do it. I can't focus on it. And I would say to someone, I think you have toxins. Why don't you go see my partner? I would send everything to him. And then one day, I don't know, I just decided, okay, it's time to have my own breakthrough and get to the next level of more learning. And I started to do the testing and the exploration and the treatment. And I would say that for, I don't know, the people who come to us, it's different, right? That's a winnowed out group. So most people will get better from a pretty straightforward approach. Fix the gut, fix the adrenals, they're going to get better. But then there's probably 20 to 30% of people who don't get better. And that's where the more sophisticated stuff comes in around looking at toxins, because that will impact your mitochondrial health and that'll impact your hair. And so it was the nuance of same thing I had in med school where I was like, wait, I should be standing at the OR table doing that. Same thing. I should be doing that. So I had that epiphany of, oh, I'm not fully serving my patients the way I'd like to.
So and started to kind of the missing link a little
yes,
bit. Yeah.
100%. And then what really drove it home was that I got multiple toxic exposures in a short period of time. And I was, I think 40, it was 2019, I was 48 and my hair started falling out and I gained 9 pounds and my brain stopped working properly. I had brain fog and I was like, okay, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Something's going on. And so that was the tipping point where I really, you know, it certainly helps to go through it yourself and understand what does it entail? What's it like? How do you pinpoint what's going on? So I did all this work on myself, and that really got me into toxins because when I circle back, I am the poster child for healthy living. I don't eat sugar. I don't drink alcohol. I get enough sleep. I try not to be a stress ball. I love what I do. You know, I got all that stuff. And my hair's falling out.
Yeah. So, and that has to be incredibly frustrating.
Oh my God. It's like, what's going on here?
Doing everything right. What is going on?
Exactly. So that was a moment where it really was that watershed moment of, oh, okay, this is how it looks in real life when you have a toxic exposure that's too much. And we have people who come to us who have lost all their hair and they grow it back.
Wow. And that has to be extremely hopeful because I mean, having autoimmunity, having these toxic overloads and the symptoms of all of those things can be incredibly scary. And it kind of takes the hope out of living the rest of your life full of health. And having something like that, I imagine losing all of your hair. I mean, I one of my symptoms with my autoimmunity was hair shedding, and it thinned quite a bit. And I remember just that feeling of I'm 33 years old and this cannot be my life. What is
Right.
happening?
Yep.
Will this all fall out? Will it grow back? And so the hope behind these kinds of quote unquote treatments has to be something that people would be overly willing to look at. Do you find that that's the case, or do you find that some people are resistant to going there?
So the people who come to us are usually falling into one of three categories.
Mhm.
One category is they are sick and they have gone to 20 different doctors and haven't gotten cured or helped, and have been told there's nothing we can do for you and I can't help you, or you're just depressed.
Yeah.
That's the group of people. We had a patient who was wheelchair bound and her doctor said to her, "You're depressed." And she said to him, "I am depressed, but that's not why I can't get out of my wheelchair."
Right.
She was not wheelchair bound for life. She became
Yeah.
wheelchair bound, and she ended up having Lyme and other associated co-infections.
Yeah.
And so treating the Lyme, now she walks
Yeah.
and her depression's gone, but the depression wasn't the issue. The Lyme was the issue. So that's one group, is the people who are really sick. Those people are going to do what it takes to get better because they don't accept that this is how their life is supposed to be.
Right.
That's one group. And then there's the group that I'll call the walking well. In my practice, that's only women because I only see women, but my husband and our other practitioners see everyone, so birth to death, both genders, babies, anything, anyone really. And so that group is the walking well. And those are people like you and me.
Mm-hmm.
We feel okay. We're getting through the day, but we have fatigue, some low libido, headaches, maybe our periods are a little bit off, or we're noticing as the transition happens that we're having more hot flashes or disturbances in our sleep. We just don't feel our best.
Yeah.
And that group also is pretty open to doing pretty much what it takes because they can see the hope and they see the possibility.
Yeah.
And then the third group, and it's a much smaller group, it's the people for whom cost is no object and they want the best in class and they want to live as long as they can, as well as they can. And they're going to do everything they can now to prevent future disease. Yeah. And they feel amazing. They just want to make sure they're not missing anything. And they're doing that work too, because they recognize the value, right?
Yeah.
And then every once in a while, it's hard to get to see me because we have a membership and it's in Massachusetts and there's a lot of layers. So by the time someone gets to my seat or my telemedicine appointment, they're motivated. Yeah. They've waited a couple months. They're motivated, right?
They're ready to go.
They're ready. But every once in a while, someone's like, "I'm not up for this." I'm like, "Okay, it's okay."
Yeah.
Not everyone's ready for this because it is a lot.
I think that's an important component to understand, is that it is hard work because it's all on you. I mean, there's that guidance portion of it. But ultimately you are responsible for following through with your care, correct? Oh no, did I lose her?
I lost you. You're muted.
And we're back. There we go. I'm so sorry. I'm not sure what happened. But continuing on with that thought of, and I'm not sure kind of where we lost each other, but
I lost you at the question. I never heard your question.
The question was, I believe where we were leaving off is, people, I think sometimes don't understand how much work is involved on their part. Yeah. You come in as a practitioner and say, this is the plan, this is what's going on, but ultimately it's on them as the patient to follow through with kind of these steps. And not everybody is prepared for that kind of work.
Yeah, 100%. It is challenging, and it works better when families do it together because then no one's left out. Yeah. No one's the odd person out eating something different or doing something different. So it really works as a whole family endeavor. But you're right. It is a lot of work.
It absolutely is. Do you find that once people really get it, though, that it's so empowering that they just want to dig more? Or does it become one of those things like, okay, I will do this, and this only. I'm not, I'm not going crazy. I'm not changing my whole life.
I think it ranges. I think that everyone will hit a breaking point, right? So I try not to hit people's breaking point. But when people start out and they figure out all these toxins, every single person wants to get them out of them.
Yeah.
No one is like, oh, I'll go slowly into it. People are like, get that out of me. That's disgusting. Get it out. I want it gone. So everyone starts out really gung-ho.
Yeah.
And then people either continue gung-ho or they hit some point where they go, oh, I'm having treatment fatigue. And I'm like, okay, cool. Thanks for telling me. Let's tweak it so that we can, Rome wasn't built in a day, and we're not going to get these toxins out of you in a day either. So it's okay. So we can adjust plans based on where people's fatigue tolerance or treatment tolerance happens. It's all adjustable.
So let's talk about that a little bit. What are some, we've talked a little bit about some of the, symptoms that you see of toxicity. What are some conditions that you see a lot of as it relates to women's health? What are some things that people come to see you for, and what are the identifiable toxins that you're finding?
It's not always linear like that, but often. So let's back up one step. Mm-hmm. Anything can be a toxin. So if you're having too much sugar, if you're having too much alcohol, those are what I'll call foundational toxins. So detox is what I'll call a higher order behavior. So you're not going to do detox if your body is struggling. And if you have a lot of toxins, it will cause your body to struggle. But what I mean by that is that if you have serious gut dysfunction, if you're drinking a lot of alcohol, if you have high levels of candida, if you don't sleep at night, if you are in a toxic relationship or have a toxic job, or your food is really not designed for what's best for you, you can't go near detox. Your body is focused on survival.
You're already in survival mode.
You're in survival.
That extra added stress is just going to be.
Yes. So detox is not happening. You're just maintaining or surviving. So when you're looking at toxins, if a woman's drinking too much alcohol, it's going to throw her off. And so wine is a particularly low hanging fruit that I see for women, because that'll disrupt their sleep, and that can disrupt their gut, and that can disrupt their hot flashes as they're transitioning into menopause. So alcohol is a huge one, especially I think we're, heading into the holidays, and that's really difficult for people. So one thing I usually say is either eliminate it, but that can be difficult, or drink less. Now, if I say to you, don't drink 2 glasses every night, and you always drink 2 glasses of wine, that's a non-starter. So you still need to have your 2 glasses of something, but would you be open to a wine spritzer with 10% wine and 90% spritzer? And so you still have your 2 glasses, you have the experience, but you're getting a significantly lower amount of alcohol. Mm-hmm. Try that, see if that would work. Yeah. So coffee can be a toxin. So, and coffee also often is contaminated with toxins. So some of the really common things that I will see for toxins could be perchlorate. That's a thyroid disruptor. Mm. So that's an interesting one, because a lot of people have thyroid disease. And so
that's always been, this is not something that's come up before. And that's really fascinating, because there's this overarching question of, I cannot throw a stone in my neighborhood and not hit a woman who doesn't have thyroid disease or have some sort of thyroid issue. Yep. What in the world is happening that so many of us are struggling? And so perchlorate, tell me a little bit, let's dig into that a little bit. Where can this be found? Where are we getting this?
Well, that fresh bleached smell of your towels that I legit love that smell. That freshly washed, bleached smell, that's perchlorate. Okay. And our water is treated. If you have well water, it's not treated. You don't get perchlorate. But if you have municipal water, it's treated with chlorine. Mm-hmm. And perchlorate is the derivative of that. And so you get that in your water.
So household products, city municipal water. Yeah. So I mean, everything that we
life.
handle as women every day. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that's like a straight line. You can draw a straight line from perchlorate to thyroid dysfunction. Now you can't draw a straight line back,
Yeah.
meaning, oh, if I get rid of my perchlorate, my thyroid's going to normalize. Maybe, maybe not, because there's so many things. I always say it's not like Eva from Wall-E, where the arms come off and the head comes off and all the pieces can just be distinct. It's really all the interplay of everything that's happening. So maybe your body can deal with it if you're sleeping enough and eating really well and not drinking alcohol. But as you approach family events or holidays, then you go off the plan that works for you, and now you can't compensate.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of interplay.
It's a whole picture with a lot of moving parts.
Yes. So other toxins that you can really see correlation with, lead really is found in osteoporosis and osteopenia. And the reason is that it sits in your bones. So it's replacing your bones.
Yeah.
So lead's another one. All the toxins are implicated in dementia and Alzheimer's. And glyphosate is implicated in various tumors. Glyphosate is the most commonly used herbicide in the world, and it's sprayed on everything. All the grains are contaminated. So even if you eat organic grains, they're often contaminated because of something called drift. It's sprayed, but it drifts, the glyphosate drifts over to your organic stuff and it's contaminated.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of ways that people can be exposed. And what happens is it creates this inflammatory state. And for women, that then gets represented in PMS, breast tenderness, bad periods, heavy periods, too infrequent periods, insulin resistance, thyroid disorder. That's how we show up with it. Hair loss. It's another one.
Yeah. Now, what about infertility? Can you link toxicity to infertility? Are there any studies? Are there any science behind that?
I believe that there are some studies, but I can't quote you the exact toxins, but yes, it's related to fertility and for some men, sperm count too.
Yeah.
So
kind of that whole picture, like on both sides.
Yeah. Especially unexplained fertility.
Right.
If your tubes are blocked, then that's not unexplained. If you can't get through the tubes, and if your partner, if your male partner doesn't have semen, then that's explained. But unexplained, where everything works and all the parts are fine, yes, it's implicated. Because think about it, the toxins play a role in inflammation. They set the tone for being inflammatory, and they're just inflammatory. So so infertility is an inflammatory state when you think about it, because you're not getting pregnant.
Right. So, and you could really link that to, wherever this is manifesting as just an inflammation problem, kind of a result of, so your toxicity or your inflammation is a result of your toxicity. Get rid of the toxicity, get rid of the inflammation. And it's kind of, where is it manifesting exactly? So what does that detox process then look like? So you do all the testing, you figure out, kind of baseline, where are you at? What can somebody expect?
Okay. So it's not for the faint of heart.
And I think that's important to know up front. Are you willing to do the hard work? Are you willing to feel like crap for a while to feel better down the road?
And not necessarily. So there's a lot of layers to this, Brandy. So, okay, let's start with, first, you need to work with a functional medicine provider because you're going to get good data, right? I love data. Get good data. And there's 4 separate tests you're going to do. I'm sure there's more, but the ones we focus on, there's heavy metals. That's one test. Then nice thing is these 3 are all in one test. So you just pee once and the company deals with it on their end, but it's testing for mycotoxins, which are the toxins from molds, environmental toxins, and herbicides, pesticides, glyphosate. Okay. So that's all in one. It's great. So it's 4 separate tests. Get your good data. And then you go, okay, lead, sources of lead, old houses, construction, lead pipes. Am I being exposed in any way? Yes, no, maybe, figure it out.
Okay.
Mercury, fish and fillings, heavy mercury fish, excuse me. Don't eat them, period. Just don't eat them. That's the tuna, the heavy tuna, the fatty tuna, the Chilean sea bass, the mahi-mahi swordfish.
Right.
Don't eat those. And if you have any fillings in your mouth that are mercury or amalgam, those have mercury in them. So consider getting those out. Those are the metals that we worry about.
Okay.
Then for environmental toxins, I mean, this is a huge bucket. The test we run is 17 pages long. So for brevity, I'll say, figure out what you're being exposed to and then track back where it came from. So the thing that broke my heart was I took great pride in doing my nails every Sunday night. Drove my husband nuts. I did my nails every Sunday night, and I would lie in bed. See if I can replicate it. I'd lie in bed with my hands on top of the covers like this, so it would dry overnight.
Yeah.
And it was dry before I went to bed, but I just didn't want to smudge it.
Yeah.
And I took great pride in doing all kinds of cool colors and patterns, blah, blah. Okay.
Yeah.
Except I had high levels of, even though I was using a reasonably clean nail polish, I had high levels of the toxin in my body. And I was like,
the one.
No, not my beauty products. But beauty products are a huge source of toxins. And so that was something that had to go for me.
Yeah.
And so figure out where you're being exposed and then stop being exposed. So I say, don't fill up your pump, right? Don't fill the pump, because that's the most important thing. Is it's like, you want to drain that pump of all the toxins, drain your body of all the toxins, but it's really hard if you continue to give it.
Right. Sure. You're going to do all that work to kind of eliminate, but then you're going to continue to be exposed and kind of go through this vicious cycle. Sure. Yeah.
It doesn't make sense. So don't be exposed. And then based on what toxins, and then mold, I want to make sure we cover the mycotoxins. Yeah. So the exposures are food and environment. So the environment can be outside, up here I'm in Boston, and in the north, the rainy seasons, April and September, my patients go nuts. They're like, I'm having hives. I have postnasal drip. I have brain fog. I'm like, oh, right. Well, it's the rainy season and you're getting exposed to molds, and it's activating what I've shown is you have a reaction to environmental mold. So this makes sense. Right. And then buildings. So basements, water damaged buildings, older buildings. There's a lot of ways you can get mold. I had a patient who had it in her car. Her car had water damage.
No. So it's almost like kind of doing some detective work afterwards.
Yes. It's so fun in a sense, except for being creepy. It's like sleuthing out. Where to get it?
Nerding out on.
Totally. It's like, okay, there's some really cool ways you're getting exposed to toxins that you don't even think about. Right. And so I have a patient who has high levels of flame retardant in her system. And I was like,
that's a new one.
Right? I said to her, did you just buy a new bed by any chance? She goes, I did. It's so comfortable. I said, yeah, because it's not an organic bed.
And I'm sitting here and I'm picturing my listeners like, this is kind of disheartening a little bit.
Totally.
Because it's not like you can avoid these things. And it's a lot of work to try to avoid these things.
Yes.
And I imagine that it's just like, oh my gosh, do I even bother? Is it even worth going through all of this? Because I can't avoid it.
Yeah, I would say, so I'm almost on the other side of it. I've been doing hardcore detox and redoing everything in our lives for the last 2.5 years. And so if I look at I had my license picture taken right before, and now I'm like, I don't look like that anymore.
Yeah.
I looked awful.
Tired.
I just didn't look good. Yeah. So it is a lot of work, except go back to, you don't have to do it all at once. You can do it as fast or as slow as you want. And the easiest way to approach it is to, one, question everything. I just had this epiphany recently that the cleaning agent that I've grown up using that has a very clean name is not clean. Yeah. It's simply a relic from my childhood. And I went, oh, that is not clean.
Yeah.
Right. Except so question everything, but level up as something runs out. You don't have to get rid of all your cleaning products and all your makeup and all your body care. You don't have to do that overnight. Yeah. Just go, oh, okay. My foundation is running out. I'm going to level up and make a better choice on that.
Yeah.
Don't buy a new bed unless you're going to buy a new bed, you know?
So yeah, so make it practical and doable and not so overwhelming. Because I
Yeah.
imagine that that's one of the biggest things when someone realizes that maybe they have a toxicity problem, and going through that process is I can't just overhaul my life
No.
in a week.
No,
So
nor should you. It's too stressful. You shouldn't do that.
Sure. So what are some practical tips, talking about your book now, what are some takeaways in the book that people can kind of expect to use right away?
I mean, we go over everything. So
Yeah.
we really are looking at the easiest thing to level up on is food.
Yeah.
Because you buy it every week.
Right.
So, and it can be challenging to overhaul everything. So don't throw out the stuff in your pantry, right?
Yeah.
But as you start to run out, you go, oh, okay, I'm going to try to level up.
Yeah.
So if you're running out of oranges, level up to organic.
Mm-hmm.
Level up to, there's, I use the environmental working group a lot. That is my go-to source for clean beauty, clean cleaning products, and food. So they have the Dirty Dozen list, which is the top 12 foods that you know, no matter what, want to buy organic. And then there's the Clean 15, which would be, if you can't afford to buy them organic, these are the ones that are okay.
Yeah.
That's reasonable to do. So use that list, because
extremely easy site to use too. I will say I've used it myself, and very user friendly. Yeah.
So in the book, we're going over, how are you doing with food? How much processed food are you having? Are you getting enough sleep? These are the things that I'll call the foundation. How much alcohol are you drinking? We do everything in the book. We're looking at your food, your beauty products, the bed you're sleeping on, the furniture you're using, the air fresheners, just everything to sort of bring your awareness to it. We talk a lot about toxic relationships, because that will tank your health and shut down detox faster than anything.
Yeah.
And so we talk a lot about how to, I'm a huge proponent of marriage. I think it's just such an amazing institution. And if you've done everything that you can do to fix your marriage and it's not fixed, get out, because it's making you sick. It's making you sick.
Yeah.
So I would say probably 4 times in my career, I've said, I can't help you until you either get out of your marriage or quit your job. Those are the 2 biggies. It doesn't happen a lot, but sometimes.
I imagine having both of those issues at the same time would be a bit overwhelming.
Yeah, no, thankfully it's only ever been one.
Yeah.
But so in the book, we're really sort of walking you through step by step. How are the ways you can clean it up? What are the things you should think about? For example, a lot of us have landscapers who come and they take care of the yard, except 99 times out of 100, unless you've asked, they're spraying glyphosate on your yard. And glyphosate, if your kids are walking through it, it's really bad for them. So you want to look at things like that to level up.
And that's really interesting. Now that you bring that up, it's one of the things, like at our house, we stopped using, my husband took pride in his grass and, weed killers and all this stuff. And after I got sick, those were the things that I was starting to think about.
Yep.
And so I said, listen, we need to kind of make some changes here. And he was totally fine with it. And he did. But I live in a fairly large neighborhood where neighbors on either side of me are not, what I mean? So I'm like, do I move into the middle of nowhere, which I would prefer to do anyway, but those are the things you think about too, kind of that drift aspect.
Yes.
And, even though we made this small changes here in our little space, not everybody around me is doing that, but it's everything I can do at the moment. But, kind of thinking about those things. You
really bring up a great point, Brandy, because you want to do what you can do and not go crazy about the stuff that's out of your control.
Oh, for sure.
So if you're looking at moving, then don't choose a home that's within a half a mile of a major highway, because you're exposed to all the plastic from the tires and the fumes.
Yeah.
Don't live next to a golf course because they're spraying. Yeah. So make choices if you have the ability to make those choices, and there's something you were sort of contemplating anyway, then level up. That's all it is. It's just pick the things you can deal with and don't pick the things you can't deal with, because you can't deal with them yet. And it's okay. It really is, because anything is better than nothing.
Right.
And you don't know that moment that you can't study yourself. So you don't know the moment where you've averted or changed your trajectory off of an autoimmune reaction or something else. You don't know that moment.
Right. And I think that's something that a lot of people probably do think about. I know it had crossed my mind. I mean, I try to pinpoint, when my bucket tipped, what was that catalyst? And as much as I like to think that I know, it could have been any number of things, quite frankly. So that's really interesting. But so how can people find your book? How can people work with you or any of your partners in your business? Where can we find you?
Sure. So the book is on Amazon under Dirty Girl. If you just type in Dirty Girl, you're not going to get to me, just for the record. You're going to type in Dirty Girl Trubow or Dirty Girl book. And then you'll get to me. Because it does have
so that's some good advice. The internet these days,
Yes. And then it's also on our website, 5journeys.com. Our practice is 5journeys.com. So someone who wants to work with us, we take insurance. It's a membership practice. Okay. So it's accessible for people.
That's really great to know, because a lot of people in your field, it is very difficult for people without insurance to afford this kind of care. So I'm really grateful that you mentioned that.
Yeah, our view of the world is that we really want to bring this to the world and have it be standard of care. And we can't do that if it's only available to people who are ultra rich. Yeah. And so you still have to be able to afford the membership and things like that, but it does bring it into more everyday life than typically. So yeah, we do take insurance and we do telemedicine now that it's COVID. Yeah. And my Instagram is Wendie Trubow. And we also have 5 Journeys Health for Instagram for the practice. So it's sort of a blend, because I am the practice. Or we are the practice.
Absolutely. Yeah. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for your time and for bringing this all to us. I mean, toxicity is kind of one of those things that people are just starting to understand and just starting to make changes in their lives. And so having you break that down for us, I really appreciate. So Wendie, it was great. Hopefully, I myself am going to grab your book. I think that it's really important, and those tools, very accessible for people. And so thank you.
Yeah, there's one last thing, Brandy, that I totally had a brain fart about. I'm sorry. Your listeners, we recognize how hard it can be to clean up your life. Yeah. And we've spent a lot of time putting together a guide that looks at all the different areas of how to clean up your life. It's basically a healthy living resource guide that's a companion to the book. And we normally sell it, but for people who are listening to your podcast, we'd love to offer it to them as a free gift. So they would go to 5journeys.com/promo, and they can have a free copy of that guide, which sort of walks them through, like, what should I choose instead of this? What should I choose?
Oh, so fantastic.
It's really great. And it's helpful for people as they start this detox journey.
Amazing. I will add that to the show notes for everybody, and go grab that and clean up before this episode will drop right before Christmas. So, before we go do all those naughty things that we're not supposed to do during the holidays. Wendie, again, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
My pleasure too, Brandy. Thank you.